back, everybody, to another installment of the Wrist Cheese Radio Podcast. This is episode 49, and today the Schmidt is out, but I happen to have a special guest here. You've probably seen his products floating around my page an awful lot. It's my good friend Nick, also known as Straphabit. Nick, what's going on tonight?
Hey, how's it going?
So thanks for coming along tonight. Anything new and exciting with you going on?
Yeah, just enjoying the weekend. It was a real nice fall day, starting to become fall here in Ohio, and just hanging out with the family and stuff today, and just put my boy to bed, and looking forward to having a good talk.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I got to say, this is the first day I wore a sweatshirt. I don't know if that's depressing or not. I usually enjoy the sweatshirt weather, at least the light sweatshirt weather. You know, it's a little versatile. You could go back to a t-shirt if it's too cold, too hot. You know, put sweatshirt back on if it's too cold. But heavy sweatshirt weather is not me. I'm a July baby. So
okay,
this is a decent time of year, but once it gets winter, I get a little miserable. So I don't know if I gotta do a little transplant action or what. But
yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way as you.
Great night here. I didn't get out of work too late, so that's awesome. We could record this. Super stoked about that. As we do on this show, I'll run down a couple new releases that I happen to take in throughout the week that I thought were at least interesting or noteworthy. Benrist, kind of an interesting brand. You know, people know it as a heritage military brand, and now they're kind of back with a little bit of a vengeance. They've been putting out some new stuff. They released a diver that was a callback to something called the Sea Lord, which is apparently a very coveted Benrist model in the vintage community. Obviously, Benrist is a bit of a deep cut. I don't know if everybody knows every model they've ever made, but apparently this one's pretty desirable. So they're bringing this back. It's called the Sea Lord. It's a 300-meter diver. Comes in around $1,000 to $1,100, and it's got a lot of the cues people like. 39 millimeters, not too thick, pretty sterile. Like, doesn't really have any crazy markings, but you can get it in green, you can get it in black. Kind of a cool release. What's your take on this bad boy?
Yeah, I've never been hands-on with a Benrist watch, so I don't have a lot of experience with them, but I was looking through the photos. It looks like the case finishing looks to be pretty nice, and that bracelet design is pretty cool. It has kind of like 3 finishes on it there. So yeah, and the colors are cool. I kind of like that shade of green that they're using.
Yeah, almost a little bit of like a hulky green, which is, I guess, nice for people who missed the boat on that one.
yeah, that's true, but it doesn't look like it's trying to be one.
No,
it's
not at all.
Got its own unique look to it.
Yeah, almost like if you're into that like Baltic micro brandy kind of look, but you're not such a micro brandy person, maybe this is your watch. I don't know, but
yeah,
pretty affordable. I mean, it's got a kind of a generic Ediclone in it, a Soprod movement. I know those are used by Zodiac as well, so I think they're decent enough movements. I don't think they're bad. So kind of cool, kind of neat. 20 mil lugs, so perfect for all your pretty standard straps out there, which is great. You know, 21 millimeter Pelagos action there. But yeah, nice 300-meter diver for $1,000. I mean, you're not going to get that every day, so that's kind of neat. It's kind of it on that, but I think overall pretty decent release.
Yeah, the size is interesting too. 39 millimeters, and it 13 is fairly thin for a dive watch, so it's probably going to wear pretty well for most people as well.
I thought so too, honestly. And for everybody who kind of likes that Black Bay 58-ish feel, I think this might be right in that same wheelhouse. So that's kind of I think that's kind of a good fit for them. A more unconventional drop from, I guess, a brand that I can't keep out of my mouth because I just enjoy them so much. The Seiko, I guess they're cocktails. It's for the reference number people out there. It's the SSA 455 J1 and the 457 J1. One is white, one is red, and it's these kind of weird looking. They almost have like these textured snowflake dials, but they have these cutouts in them and then exposed rotor. As much as I enjoy Seiko, the cocktail line, all that, I don't know if this is a hit for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. That kind of cream color, the dial texture looks really cool, and the color looks good. I'm just not really into the cutout dial myself either.
So apparently it's supposed to mimic the ripples in a cocktail. I guess like if there was something dropped in it, you would see
Okay, I could see that.
I didn't know that until I had to look up. I was like, let me see exactly what this is supposed to be, because to me, it read kind of like crop circles.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
that's
thinking
true.
like the Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan dial.
Yeah, that's funny.
But it's your standard cocktail time. The newer cocktails, at least, the all the same dimensions, 40 and a half mils, your 41-hour power reserve, all the stuff we're used to, just with a very kind of esoteric dial. I guess it's for somebody. I just don't know if it's for me. I know a lot of people like to talk about the watch industry doesn't make watches for watch people. They make them for kind of normies and see if they stick. And I get that. And I guess that's kind of probably who this is geared more towards.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, people, you can kind of see some of the movement in there. It's gold underneath and has kind of a unique look to it. So yeah, I could see somebody else being interested in it.
Yeah, and that comes in around 500, and I don't think anybody pays 500 for these. It's usually like 300 on the gray market or on eBay or something. So, I mean, if this is your thing, knock it out the park. That's all good. But I don't know if it's a hit for me personally. Moving on, a little housekeeping. Big thanks to you for hooking up with the employer match on our donations. The little till on the Real Men website now reads over $6,000. So that's a big round of applause there. Awesome work. And you had mentioned that we also have a few thousand in sales still to kick in. So we're looking at 5 figures here, my friend. That's a pretty tall accomplishment, because the straps are killing. I think people are loving them. And I know you're wearing yours now.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge hit. I got to say, like, I think we've talked about this at length. Like, we didn't really know what to expect coming into this. We were like, all right, this is going to be a fun little initiative. Definitely our friends will pick them up and a few people here and there. But I mean, to have to restock 3 times, it's been quite the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's been wild, because I remember, when we were first throwing around the idea, and I said to you, just to get an idea of where to start at, I was like, how many of these things do you think we would sell? And I think you said, oh, maybe like 50.
Yeah.
And so I started out with 150 just so that we could order, or so that we could sell, a couple different sizes for people. And it was just crazy how fast, those blew out. So so we're at a little over 4,300 right now that I still owe to kick in, plus I think 1,500 or so that we did earlier in the summer. And then when this next round comes, if they go as fast as the rest of them did, it's going to be pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
And then, I think also once you get your Nomos giveaway up and running, that'll probably fuel the flames a little bit more as well. So
yeah, really hoping to kick it into gear this month. And that is coming. It's just, again, I'm playing a little bit of the back and forth game with their social media. And I don't know if anybody's in the corporate email world, but things don't always travel at the speed of light. So sometimes it takes a day or two between correspondence, and it's going back and forth. But I got some pretty dope shots of it, and I'm looking forward to sharing those, and hopefully really making this a tremendous effort this year. I mean, it already is, but I'm curious to see exactly how high it'll go. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too.
But enough about the stuff that is usually on Wrist Cheese Radio. Let's get to the stuff that is exclusive to this episode. So, Nick, the fact that I have you here, I guess let's make this a little bit more about you. Kind of this generic softball question everybody gets lobbed. How'd you get into watches? How'd you become a watch guy? What kind of drew you to the hobby, I guess?
Yeah, I think I kind of had that in me all along, even like as a kid, and I kind of needed something just to make me like really dig into the hobby, which is kind of what happened. I mean, even growing up, I always wore watches, and I remember when I was in college, I went to Germany, and I had this. It was like an analog digital, just cheap watch from some department store or whatever, and I figured out I could set the times independently.
Oh,
so I kind of almost had like a poor man's GMT that I figured out. And I didn't even know what a GMT was, but I was kind of just into those, using little features of watches and stuff. And, when I graduated college, I bought myself a Nixon watch, which I thought was a nice watch at the time. And so I had some friends. What really kicked it off or got me, heavy into it, I guess, like I had a couple friends that started getting engaged and their fiancés bought them a watch. And my now wife said, oh, well, if you ever get engaged to me, I'll buy a watch for you. So I'm an engineer, and I'm always like trying to figure out what's the best thing out there. And I didn't want to pick the wrong thing, or, get something that was wrong. So I kind of started doing some research and trying to learn, like, how do you know what a good watch even is? And at the same time, I'm shopping for engagement rings. So I'm going to all these jewelry stores and making a walk past the watch, stand as I go by and stuff like that. So, kind of started learning and getting into it that way. And then, I remember I came across, everybody, it seems, gets started with Seiko, right? And I remember I was watching this YouTube video of a Monster, and they showed the sweeping seconds hand and kind of explained how a mechanical watch worked. And that's when it just clicked for me, like, oh, this is what I'm going to be into now. So, I started reading all the watch blogs and stuff like that, and learning about it. And so here I am.
Yeah, it's cool. That kind of figuring out the GMT without a GMT is a pretty big flex for like a non-watch person. I feel like that's not only is that pretty like industrious on your part, but that's also like, if I was in those shoes, I'd be like, this is pretty pimp. Like, I can track dual zones without knowing that that's a thing already.
Yeah, it worked out well, because when I was calling people back home and stuff, I would know what time it was. So
yeah. And actually, you mentioned Nixon, just complete happenstance. My wife was talking the other day about somebody she met through like a PD at work, and his kid's name is Nixon, and the guy threw out the tidbit. He said it's not named after the president, he's named after a watch company. I'm like, I have to get in touch with this person and find out exactly the story behind this, because like, that's kind of obscure to name your kid after a watch company.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's little kids running around named like James Cameron or stuff because of watches, but hey,
yeah, it's better than if his name was like Day-Date or something, I guess. So
totally true. So what would you say were some, I guess, gateway pieces that really hooked you? Because I know I always talk about like the turtle that got me, and then I got into luxury and I bought a Pelagos, and I always repeat them, but like at the same time, those hold such near and dear spots in my heart, because they sunk the claws in me. Like, I can't get around it. It's like a first girlfriend, like your first love interest, you get pulled in, so what would you say were some of those for you?
It was kind of like a gradual progression, I would say. So I can't think of one like gateway piece. I started out with Seikos, and so a little bit of my personal background, but my wife and I dated long distance for a long time. So that period of time until she bought me the watch, I started collecting and going through. It was actually kind of nice, because I had some less expensive watches and kind of got to learn what I liked and things like that. So I went through, a ton of different Seikos and just kind of experimenting, trying different stuff and seeing what I liked. So I don't know if there was like one piece I would say that really hooked me in, I guess. But for anyone that's curious, anyway, the Planet Ocean chronograph is what ended up being the wedding watch that we finally got. So actually the cool part was at our wedding, she had like a little groom's cake made that was the red Omega box with like a little watch inside it with a like fondant on it and stuff. She had one of her friends make. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. Which Planet Ocean color variant did you go with?
Oh, just the black.
It looks killer on that strap too.
I gotta say.
I don't know what it is. Black, something about black, either black, white, or like the panda, reverse panda, look insane on that pink strap. Like, I don't know what it is. A lot of people recently have just been tagging both of us in a lot of like panda colorways, and I'm like, damn, this looks so good.
It does, yeah.
I guess because it's just the neon pink against really dull colors. I guess it makes perfect sense. A lot of contrast, a lot of different you get major color versus either no color or completely, white or something. But
yeah,
I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it.
Spence from Whiskey and Watches posted that Seiko the other day on it. That thing looked pretty killer on there.
He's got the SRQ. I can't remember the numbers, but it's the
re-edition.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's the 029, but I think it's a re-edition of, or a modern interpretation of the 6138 Panda. And so it's a 3 register instead of 2 and stuff, but it's got kind of the similar look, similar coloration. And it looks killer on it, I gotta say. And again, I think that's kind of just again, kudos to you as to how it came out, because we had discussed the design for it. And I was kind of like, I guess we'll see how this goes. But I remember when I got mine, I was like, this is actually quite badass.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And I get, a lot of random people asking me about them and stuff when I wear them.
Yeah, my one of my bosses is actually kind of a jerk and was like, kind of like mocked me for. He's like, "What's up with that?" And I was like, "Dude, breast cancer awareness." And he was like, "Oh yeah." Like, he kind of like tail between the leg on me, like he was looking to ding me, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm a jerk," and I was like, "Well, yeah." So
that's funny.
Yeah. Um, so what would you say? I mean, I guess it might have to do with your engineering background, but what made you want to jump into a business within sort of a passionate hobby that you're involved in?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So I have a couple friends that started their own businesses. It's not anything related to watches, but they kind of inspired me, I guess. I saw what they were doing, and I was really interested in the idea of kind of because I've worked for a large company for my whole life since college, basically, and I like the idea of kind of trying something entrepreneurial and something that I can kind of control and run myself. And I kind of heard the advice from a few people of, if you're going to start a business, it should be something you're passionate about, because otherwise you're not going to maybe be motivated so much to continue wanting to work on it. And also, I've found in retrospect that having some knowledge and kind of involvement in the community really helps too, when people are looking for advice or questions about what they want to buy and things like that. If it wasn't something I was really interested in, I couldn't really give people good advice or pick out products that I think, would sell well and things like that. And
I guess that makes perfect sense, right?
yeah. But then kind of the other thing, when you hear a lot of like watch company micro brands and stuff that I've heard on podcasts, they talk about, the side benefit or the unexpected thing that kind of happens when you do something like this is you meet a lot of people in the community, and kind of I when I'm into a hobby, I really like being involved in the community and stuff like that. So, sure. I've met a lot of people. I mean, I'm on this podcast with you now, and kind of people that you meet through social media and stuff like that. It's been fun to kind of, interact with people in that way.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat, like the different places you end up, like the different people you end up meeting, or even, I don't have, access to the information you do, but I'm sure there have been people who've like either bought or tagged you in something and you're like, oh, this is sick. Like this person is wearing my product. Like this is pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were talking the other day, Joe Rogan randomly started following me.
That was,
I don't know where that came from, but yeah, I've seen a couple other, people in the watch community that are pretty well known, especially I think since we got the pink straps going as well, I think a lot of people have been interested in picking those up and kind of sharing the photos and stuff. So that's been pretty fun.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty cool. It's funny, whenever you get involved in something that you're very either passionate about or you have a real liking to, I feel like it's very 50-50. Like either it's going to be like, it's going to either enhance your experience or it's going to completely like diminish it. Like I know a lot of people who in my line of work are like, oh, well, I hate to cook outside of work because that's all I do. And I'm like just completely desensitized to it. That has happened to me, but I know plenty of people who are like, oh, I can't stand this crap anymore. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Like I feel like it's either one or the other. Like you're either going to be like, this is going to completely like make for a surreal experience where I'm going to be so like just involved, or it's going to be like, oh man, I can't stand this community anymore. But I'm glad it turned out well for you.
Yeah. That part's been pretty cool. The only maybe slight negative I would say towards my hobby is now when I'm looking at watches to buy, I'm like, oh, is that one going to be one that's going to look good in photos on my website? Or is that one that a bunch of my straps are going to fit or something like that? So I'm kind of, whereas before I was just kind of picking only purely based on what I was interested in. So it's kind of skewed it a little bit, but it's still been fun. And I kind of have a little bit more of an excuse now, maybe, I need this new watch because I gotta, take photos that'll match with these new straps that I got or something like that. So,
and you mentioned your website, and while we're here, let's give it a plug, straphabit.com.
Yeah,
Uh,
straphabit.com.
but you have a website and it also has a blog attached to it and some neat little projects. Like I know you have the one with the Planet Ocean. You're talking about building your perfect Planet Ocean? Is that it?
Oh, no, that was with the Casio I was talking about. I think the Planet Ocean I had restored though
That
recently,
was it. It
the
was
wedding
restoring the
watch. Yeah,
Planet Ocean.
yeah.
Yep. I
Hmm.
know there was two. You were building something, you were restoring something, but I keep up and so how's that going? How's that kind of working out for you?
Yeah, the blog's been fun actually. It's funny because I didn't originally plan to have a blog on the site, but basically as a little bit of background, like years ago, I'd review watches on watch forums just for fun, basically, like before I started doing this business. And right shortly after I started Strap Habit, somebody reached out to me from watchcharts.com and told me they were starting to build up a blog and asked me if I could write for their blog. So I started doing that. And then I thought, it'd be cool for me to put a blog on my own site as well. So I started doing that on there as well. And it's kind of, it does drive some traffic to the website and kind of gets more people interested in it, but it's just something that's fun that I enjoy as well. So if I get my hands on a new watch that I bought, or like I posted a JLC article this week, which just my friend from college was visiting me and had this sick watch. So I was like, dude, I got to borrow that and take a couple of pictures of it, and wrote an article of it just kind of for fun. So yeah, it's just kind of another piece on the site, I guess, for people to look at. And if I'll throw a couple of my straps on the watches and the photos as well, because maybe somebody has that watch and they want to see some options of what it's going to look like. So
That's cool, a little pet project, but I think it also maybe speaks to people. I think I don't want to say a lot of people, but I think there are always people within hobby spaces that see it as a potential way to make money. And at least I think this at least speaks to people and says, hey, I'm not just here to profit off you. Like I'm one of the gang.
yeah, that wasn't the goal coming. I didn't think about that coming out, but I think that is true. And I think I try to project that on social media and interacting with people as well. Like I get really excited if somebody has a cool watch and puts a picture of one of my straps on it on Instagram or something like that. That's definitely something I'm really into.
Yeah, I think those are two things that like resonate with especially people in this space, because I think obviously a lot of money changes hands in this space and there's a lot of um you know people when they're buying watches, there's a lot of scrutiny and there's a lot of like, even especially obviously Rolex is a tremendously popular brand and there's always, oh, is this real? Like, you get a lot of that on the forums. Do you think this is real? Do you think this has been altered or whatever? I think integrity, transparency, just being genuine, I think that speaks volumes within this hobby. I think a lot of it is people are used to a lot of marketing from every which way, brands, blogs, whatever. And so when they meet people who are sort of just themselves, I think it kind of sticks with them and it kind of resonates. So I think that's a good look on your part.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, and I can't comment on myself, I guess, but I feel the same way. Like when I see other brands and stuff, like you'll hear certain people from a watch brand or whatever on a podcast, and you can tell like this guy's into it, and it definitely makes me more interested in that brand. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that, because you could tell either if they're just like a marketing person or they're a watch person, like in their position. Because
Yeah.
obviously these companies are businesses. They have people who they hire from outside of the industry to come in because they're very good at what they do. And then they
Mm-hmm.
have watch people who know kind of the landscape and can help from that angle. So you're going to get kind of a mixed bag. And when you get somebody who is like so well versed and you're like, wow, this could be like a conversation I have with anybody. Like it really does draw you in. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
So as a small business owner, what would you say have been the biggest challenges so far, sort of from getting off the ground to really getting yourself out there? What do you think has been sort of your biggest hurdles?
Yeah, getting traction at the start is probably the hardest part. You start doing a business and at least in my case, like it doesn't take off right away. So you're like, am I wasting my money and my time here?
Yeah.
And it kind of starts growing, and basically you kind of at least for me, have these little small successes along the way, and kind of just see, okay, it's trending in the right direction. I want to keep putting my focus and keep working on this. So it's really, I can't think of any like one really big hurdle or anything. It's just kind of small hurdles that keep coming along the way. And I don't have any business experience originally, so I'm just kind of learning how to do all this as I go along, I guess. So some problem will come up and I got to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm
Something
sure.
like that.
I'm sure
So,
the entire 2020 supply chain situation wasn't too kind on anybody's business, but
yeah, it wasn't too bad for me. The one lucky thing for me is that watch straps are really small.
yeah,
So like you can ship a lot of watch straps in a box by air. So I didn't have as much of the like sea shipping
yeah,
issues or things that I think other people did. So and when pandemic was first start, I started this company in 2019. So I wasn't selling nearly the volume that I am now when things were like really locked down. So it didn't actually slow me down too much. And I've had people ask me like how the pandemic affected your business, and I can't really say because it was so new at the time. But I wonder sometimes if it helped me that so many people are at home
yeah.
getting bored, and watch strap is not super expensive. So even if you're having a little financial trouble of staying home from work or whatever, it's kind of like an inexpensive way to have a little fun. So I wonder if I guess I can't really say.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody talked about sort of the watch boom might have come from everybody who didn't travel, who didn't have all these other expenses, commuting and everything. They're like, well, I have expendable income, I'll get a watch. You're gonna need new straps for those watches, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you got a little boon there. Yeah, that and then the algorithm, I guess, is always the challenge, right? You never hard to beat that Instagram algorithm. I don't think anybody's figured it out, but I've seen people try. It's
Yeah, I haven't really tried. I mean, I would say it's becoming more now, but not a huge amount of my, I think, traffic comes from Instagram. So I mean, right now I just kind of post what I think is fun on there and whatever I'm doing, basically, the watch I'm wearing today or the latest one that I'm reviewing or the new straps that I have. So I don't really have an Instagram strategy right now, I guess, to try to figure out some algorithm or something like that.
yeah, and I always wonder. I mean, I know people who have sort of gone out on their own and done business and stuff, and I always like to hear the kind of stories they have. Do you have any I guess funny stories from either customer service or customers or supply chains or what have you?
Yeah, actually, I had one. I just thought of it the other day because you posted that meme about SpongeBob checking the tracking number 3 minutes after his shipment go, or at
Yeah.
3 minutes after he orders or whatever. And I had a thing. I think it was last summer maybe where I had to ask a question to the mailman, and I distracted him, and all the straps for that day he scanned them in as delivered instead of received.
Oh no.
And like within like a couple hours my email was like blown up. And it's one of two people. Most people are just like, hey, I saw this, it's kind of weird, I want to know what's going on. But there's like a certain percentage of people that just believe they're getting ripped off. As soon as something weird happens, they're getting ripped
Sure.
off, and they come out of the gate strong. And usually I can kind of calm people down pretty quickly in an email, just answer politely what's going on. But so that took, and then the other problem was because they were scanned as delivered, none of those tracking numbers got updated anymore. So I kind of had to just wait until they got delivered and hope people would trust me. So that's one story. And then actually I had a funny story just yesterday. I had to go to the bank and do something, and this lady's like, so wait, so what's your business? And I was like, I sell straps for watches. And she's like, oh, so it's like Apple watches. And I'm like, no, just for like a regular watch. I held it, a regular watch like this. I held my wrist up, and then the guy in the next booth, he's like, wait, so it turns a regular watch into an Apple watch? I'm like, no, just for a regular watch. And so we finished up our transaction and I left, and the guy's like, okay, well, good luck with your business. And I walked out. You could tell
You're like, this guy, get a load of him.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. When I've shipped like I've done some promotional giveaways and stuff with people who've done like the Bro Dinky NATOs and stuff. And so like I've sent them out to people. And when the person asks me, they're like, what's in the shipment? And I'm like, it's a fabric strap. And they're like, what do you mean fabric strap? I'm like, it's for a watch like this one. And they're like, they just stare at me and they're like, okay, like $3. I'm like, all right, thanks. And I just like walk
Yeah,
out. I'm
yeah.
like, all right, well, there are weirder things that people ship. So,
Right.
but so obviously being a business owner in this space, there are, I guess nowadays, a pretty decent amount of strap companies that range from, I guess, inexpensive to expensive. So how do you sort of differentiate and try to be like competitive, I guess, in this landscape?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing, which I just kind of offer stuff that I think is cool, and it seems like that seems to resonate. Other people seems to think it's cool, but the thing that I'm trying to focus on, now that I kind of have some traction and I know that I can actually sell some watch straps, I'm trying to look for things where there's maybe no one else is offering something like this, or it's something that I see people looking for that they can't find. And I'm trying to continue to kind of push for stuff like that that's a little bit more unique or just fun. Or sometimes it's just something that I want to do and I'm not even sure if people are going to buy it. Like just this week I released these full glow in the dark elastic straps.
I saw those,
like full loom, and I was like, I don't even know if people want to buy these or not, but I just think it's cool. And some guy today, he posted a picture of it, was an Omega, I think like an X33, one of those backlit digital ones, and the screen was glowing green and the strap was glowing green. It was pretty cool. So I was like, okay, at least like one guy took a pretty cool picture with these, so just like I said, just trying to do stuff that I think is fun and looks cool and that I would want to wear.
yeah,
I'm trying also to,
I did see that photo.
Okay.
That was really sick. Like the indices are glow. I mean, not the indices. I feel like maybe the bezel, something in it is glowing green on the watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, this contrast is insane. Like it's dark in the photo, but it's very vivid. It is really, really cool.
Yeah. And I'm trying also to do more of the odd sizes too, because I mean, you just see more and more of these watch companies, you just mentioned it earlier, are coming out with these odd sizes. So I did it with the pink straps and the sailcloth straps. That was one of those examples where the tooling existed for the standard sizes, but now that I'm have a little bit more, I guess, to work with, I was able to have some tooling made to do those other sizes, and I'm hoping to continue that way and kind of support those people with the odd sizes that maybe don't have as many options, things like that. So
yeah, and I think that's a great move. I mean, I know a lot of the vintage market are in odd sizes. I know a lot of vintage Seiko 19 millimeters, a lot of even vintage Rolex 19 millimeters. I know I was stoked because I have the Grand Seiko spring with 21 millimeter spring bars, and I was like, oh my god, like of all the watches I want to see on a pink strap, this is the one. And obviously it has to be the stupidest length ever, but now that void has been filled, so I'm hyped about that. But I think it's cool. You keep obviously keeping up with the stuff like the quick release spring bars, which is really nice. And also, I mean, as strange as it sounds, I know sailcloth has been out here, but I don't think that many people were familiar with it. Like when I kind of got it in people's hands, they were like, I never dealt with this material before, but it's pretty sick. Like I know the first time I tried it, I kind of just went on a limb and I was like, I don't know what sailcloth is, but I'll check it out. And then I was like, oh, this is a neat material. Like obviously not for every watch, but I think it's got its place. And then when we were talking about how we want to do it, it's like, well, do you go leather? I don't know how pink leather is going to look. NATO, there's tons of NATOs. Everybody got a million NATOs, and not everybody likes to wear watches on NATOs. I was like, sailcloth, that's an interesting prospect. And now, like I said, a lot of people I know are like, this is actually sick. Like, I always talk about my friend who has the Zen EZM, and he's like, this black sailcloth is like, I don't need any other straps. And I was like, well, here we go. Like turning people on to new stuff. I think that kind of, I don't want to say pushes the boundaries, but I think getting things in people's hands that they haven't experienced before sort of opens them up, not even for your own sales, but just watch strap, I guess, sales in general, kind of helps out everybody along the way.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think too, it was fun. I was trying to get all the pink to be one color, but actually I think that darker pink leather that was available for that reinforcement, I think it gives kind of a cool contrast to it. So I was
Yeah,
pretty happy
if you
with
would
how
have told
those
me you
came
did
out.
that on purpose, I would have believed you 100%. I thought that was like completely intent. I didn't know if they were supposed to match or if I was like, this is a neat accent. Like it gives you have pink on pink, and then obviously whatever the color watch is, which is usually not pink. So you get a few
Yeah.
different shades in there. No, it was definitely even if that was an accident, it was a happy accident. I know we were talking about a little bit about social media, but and I know obviously as a business owner on social media, it gets interesting because you get people who buy your stuff. Some people want to talk about how great it is. Other people, you get people who can never be pleased. Is social media, you think that's sort of a blessing or a curse for sort of independent entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had too many problems with like customers or anything like that, like you mentioned. So I think it's mostly been good. I mean, like I said, it's for me, it's kind of without social media, a lot of times like I'll send out products and I don't know where they go or who they're going to, and don't really hear anything. So it's kind of fun to get that feedback of, oh, I got this and I like it, and here's a cool picture of it, or you hear those stories about like, oh, I didn't even wear this watch anymore, and now I put this new strap and now I love it again. So I kind of like hearing that stuff. I haven't had too many negative interactions with people really at all. The one thing I'll say, like for myself, it's kind of like people spend too much time on social media a lot of the time, and now I kind of have this feeling, oh, it's for the business. I'm doing it for the business, and I'll end up like scrolling through a bunch of wrist shots for a bunch of time and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise, I haven't had too many negative experiences really.
Yeah, you should try running a meme account and then trying to explain that to your wife.
Yeah.
She's like, you're on your phone a lot. I'm like, I kind of have to be at this point. Like, I don't really have a better excuse for it. I'm like, she knows about it. She sees it. She gets it. But I kind of have to do some work to get the creative process going and post stuff. And it has to be to a certain standard. I can't just put out garbage and be like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, obviously I have a bit of a standard that I've upheld so far. So like trying to scroll through like memes that I can make into funny things all day. Like sometimes it gets a little, I'm like, oh my God, I have to put this down and walk away. Like
Yeah.
it gets a little excessive. I can imagine being a business owner that, hinges dollars and cents on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, I
Actually,
don't know, blessing, curse, but
it's funny what you were just saying about explaining it to your wife. Trying to explain this whole deal, the breast cancer thing, because probably some of the listeners know my mom's going through that right now. She just finished her last round of chemo last week, and trying to explain to her all of this. She's like, wait, so what's Brodinky? Are you Brodinky, or is that no? You're Straphabit, right? Well, what does he do again? Who's this guy? Like,
nothing.
just trying to explain what a watch meme account is to your mom is kind of funny.
Yeah. And I admit, I remember I had mentioned before that it was obviously a personal cause to you as well. But I obviously, it's not my place to share those details, but obviously we all wish her the best. And,
Yeah,
people, again, I think knowing that they can get just a good feeling about helping out and everything, that, we're not just in this for recognition or anything, but that
yeah,
we have, there are real people that we care about. I know myself, I have family members, multiple, that have gone through rounds of chemo, mastectomies, and things like that. And that, obviously you have your own situation, but we're doing this for the right reasons and not necessarily for the applause. But
yeah. And honestly, I mean, the whole thing has really been a win for everybody, because I mean, even the people who donate, they get something to show for it,
right.
and you hear stories of people like, I think people who have a loved one that's gone through it, it's kind of like a little reminder on your wrist of like, oh, I did something to help out this person that I care about or love or whatever. So everybody that participates kind of gets something to kind of give them a reminder, or that good feeling, I guess.
I never really thought about that, but that's probably honestly the best reason to buy one of these now that I think about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, even Schmidt was talking about, because he loves them, and even a lot of his friends have bought them, and he's like, you don't get a lot of things where you'd make a donation and you get something in return. Not that you expect something in return, but like what a awesome perk to not only am I helping a good cause, but I get something that I probably wouldn't have bought in the first place. Like, I don't know if everybody is out there trying to seek out a neon pink strap, but I think now that they're here and people are like, it's also helping a good cause, and this might be a cool opportunity to get something I wouldn't have picked up. Like now they're into it. So I think that's kind of how it caught fire. Is I think there's like multiple levels of things at play here, and they're just like, all right, like why not at this point? Again, $25, especially in this game where people are spending 5 figures on a watch, where people are spending $200 on a, fancy custom leather strap. Not that it's a drop in the bucket, but there's worse investments in the watch world, right? I mean, you could be buying those stickers or what is that new cover? I saw there's an ad with a GMT Master with like a cover on it.
Yeah.
I get it. You want to preserve your watch and they go up in value, and that's cool. But I mean, the ones that skyrocket in value like that, unless they're chewed up, they hold their value pretty well, regardless. I think.
Yeah. I think so.
So I don't know, but yeah, I think you made a bunch of very valid points as to why people should be into this. And if they're not, that's okay. I'm not out here to guilt people in anything, but I'm super stoked that many people have gotten on board, and really excited. I get DMs all the time. Hey, when are they coming back in stock? I'm like, soon, man, soon. And I know you had said either first or second week of October we're looking at.
Yeah, I think that's probably about where we'll be. Yeah, if everything
I know things get a little unpredictable as far as production and shipping are concerned, but you heard it here. We're going to get them back in October. Keep your ear to the ground because this is the last one. I know we're getting, what'd you say, 120s and 50 22s?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Awesome.
And just if anybody wants an 18, they're getting pretty low on the 18. So,
all right, you heard it here, folks. So keep an eye out, and if you're looking for one, grab it now because they're not coming back at least anytime soon. So, but yeah, I mean, what an amazing effort. It's been funny and a funny experience for me because the person I'm in contact with, he's actually somewhat of a watch guy. He has like a tag, he has like a Luminox. He's not a watch community person, but he likes watches. He's told me where he's tried to like imprint it on his sons, and they just don't get it. They're like, but Dad, we have stuff that tells the time. And he's like, yeah, but it's about the look. He's like, it's about it. He's like, when I was growing up, having a watch meant something. And, obviously it doesn't translate over super well now, but it's been funny where he's been like, this is a thing. Like there's a community involved. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and you're selling straps. I'm like, yeah, with a guy I'm working with. He's like, and people are buying these up. I'm like, yes. And he's like, this is weird. He's like, but it's turning out great. It's been a lot of fun. I got to say from my own end. I mean, I'm sure it's been fun from your end as well, but
yeah, it's been really fun. I'm just glad we didn't end up stuck with 100 of these at the end or something like that.
Definitely. So speaking of watches and being a watch guy, what is a guy who has access to a ton of sweet strap options keep in his collection?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I kind of like stuff that's like a little bit off the beaten path, but not super crazy, I guess. So, I mentioned I have the Planet Ocean chronograph. Another watch that I wear all the time is my Sin U1S, which is the all blacked out one. So that one's just a fun kind of weekend watch to throw on with a hoodie or something like that. I try to I like to have variety in my collection so that I have something to wear kind of for any kind of situation that I might find myself in. So yeah, I have a vintage Hoyer Octavia also that I really like to wear.
That's the one in the pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's a killer watch. People comment thanks. Just that. They're like, that Hoyer is awesome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was one. I bought that when we found out we were going to have my son, and I sold a bunch of watches. I figured like, oh, maybe now I better buy this. And I saw they were going up in price. So
yeah,
I don't really buy watches as investments, but I was more afraid, like if I don't buy one now, maybe I won't be able to. So
you missed the boat.
Yeah. So that's been a fun one to wear as well. And then we were joking kind of on Instagram about the Prospex LX the other day.
Dude, I can't win with you. I wound up bagging like however many watches you own, and I'm like, I was like, and you're like, damn it, you got me again. I'm like, and then like I feel bad, obviously.
I take it as a joke. I know it's being funny.
But yeah, so you have that sort of Batman Prospex LX, right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, generally, I try to look for stuff that's a little bit out of the mainstream, but just kind of stuff that's fun to wear. And really, I've I've bought and sold a ton of watches right now. So really kind of when I look at a new watch to wear, I'm trying to find stuff that has some experience that I haven't had before. So maybe a brand that I haven't owned, or a new kind of movement that I haven't owned, or a case material, or some
Sure.
kind of construction or something that's unique. I just want to kind of experience different things and kind of expand my knowledge and experience about what's out there, I guess. But you were talking about social media earlier, and I was just thinking about this today. You probably have some friends or some people that on social media that they always buy kind of whatever the hot thing is.
Yes.
And I'm almost kind of the opposite of that, where if something's the hot thing, I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy that watch. Like everybody wears that. I want to get something different. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, but that's not Instagram. That's actually not in real life.
Yes.
Like I don't actually see people in real life wearing these watches. I don't know one person that owns that watch, and I'm not buying it because a bunch of people on Instagram own it. So it's almost kind of, I need to get over that the other way, and maybe try some mainstream things a little bit more once in a while.
Yeah, it's funny. I bounce back and forth with that too. Like I know when things are super hot, I'm like, and I don't know if that's just because I'm like, well, there's going to be a ton of these bought now, and there'll be a ton of them sold, so I'll have plenty of opportunity to grab one at a later date when people fall out of love with them.
That's a good point.
But I think I'm with you. I think I'm just like, I don't want to be the one buying the hotness for the sake of having hotness and then not liking it or not keeping it long term. Because I mean, again, these aren't small sums of money often. So like sometimes it just feels a little irresponsible. Like that's why as much as I enjoy a lot about Tudor, I never hopped on a 58, the 58 blue, things like that, because I never wanted to I don't really like competing for watches when I feel like I have to like edge somebody else out to buy one. That kind of irks me. But also the same thing you were talking about. Like, I don't know if I want to grab the hotness, not even for the fact that I think, oh, I'm going to look like a sheep posting the same watch as everybody else on Instagram. It's just that I don't want to be sort of goaded into making that purchase and then being like, wait, did I buy this for me? Or, it's kind of a sinking feeling that I don't really enjoy.
Yeah. 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 I totally get it.
But I know you're talking about the Zin. Actually, I guess not recently, but I had to lay the money down in March, but I picked up the Zin U50, like sort of all blacked out with the blue dial. Did I toss it on?
Nice.
This is your strap, the Blue Tropic, bro.
Oh, that looks killer on there.
Plays on this. Like for those who don't know,
match.
Yeah, it's like an all blacked out. Yeah, dude, that looks killer. And like I said, my friend has the Easy M and he loves it on the black sailcloth. But for those who don't know, I'll put up a picture of it. It's a Zin U50, but it's a completely black coated case, and it has a sort of blue gradient dial that is very vivid, sort of navy inside and then fades to black outside. And then it obviously has the sort of hyper white Zin motif for all the accents, the hands, and it has sort of the cool patterning on the second hand and the what do they call them? The Lego hands.
Yeah, yeah.
You get neat contrast. It looks really cool with the loom. But a while back when he sent me the pink straps, he also was kind enough to include a couple tropics because I was on a big tropic kick for the summer. And it just so happened I kind of paired it one day and I was like, well, this is perfect. Like the shade of blue is absolutely nuts on there. It's nuts. So I'll try to snap a snazzy picture so you can feature it if you wanted to. But when you said, oh, I got my Zin, I was like, oh, I'm wearing it right now. This is awesome. So I guess going forward, now that you're kind of established, right? You're a bit of a household name. What do you think your goals are, I guess, not only for the brand, but I guess for yourself sort of going forward?
For myself, that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm just kind of taking it as it goes. And, I'm just trying to do something every day to kind of move the brand forward or improve it. Or, like I said, bringing interesting products out that I think maybe there's a lack of, or people are looking for, stuff like that. So I kind of just taking it one day at a time and just see where it takes me.
And what would you say as far as anything new or exciting in the pipeline coming that we should know about? I know you were talking about the elastic sort of loomed glow in the dark straps. Anything we should keep our eye out for?
I got a couple things I'm working on. I've had a couple products I've tried to release that didn't work out, so I don't want to say there's a couple things I don't want to say yet. Just I don't want to get people's hopes up. But when one thing I'll say, when the pink straps come in, I'm doing another round of a couple other fun colors, which you know, the ones I have now are kind of more like military style, or kind of your more traditional like tool watch colors, and I want to do some other fun colors. So I talked to Sam and her watch box, and also my wife, just
Oh
to
yeah,
kind of
she's
get
great.
some, just to I just to try to get some colors that are a little bit more fun, or that'll be a little bit more of a appeal to different kinds of people and stuff like that. So I'll have those when the pink ones come in, and then have a couple other cool things that I'll hope will be coming in the months after that. So
Very, very cool. And I think obviously that's always kind of the traditional move, is to go with your blacks, blues, olive drab, all that. But I think now, and maybe part of it was due to sort of the social media watch boom from the pandemic, is color is just all the rage, right? I mean, look, even Rolex went ahead and made every color Oyster Perpetual under the sun, right? All sorts of bright colors, right? Things you never see in watches. And everybody sort of got on board and went in lockstep with that. Omega put out stuff. I mean, heck, even Zinn put out 556s in pastel. Like, who would have ever thought a company like Zinn would do that?
yeah,
So I think now more than ever, like the broadening of the color spectrum has really spilled over into watches. And I think if any time, now's the time to take advantage of that, not only from a perspective of profit, but also just to expand your lines. I mean, if you're gonna work, obviously the pink has been cool. It's definitely different. Well, what else can we do? It's definitely a good move on your part.
yeah, I think it's fun. And you know, I think another thing, you know, I think for a number of years we've been kind of in this vintage inspired phase where a lot of the new watches, everything is kind of a remake of some vintage watch from the company,
Yes.
or inspired by vintage. And I think now you're starting to see companies are kind of going back to more modern stuff, and I think that's where some of these new colors come in as well. Like people are doing these kind of bright modern colors and stuff. So
Yeah, it's funny you say that, actually. I just jokingly reposted a meme from this week last year, and it was this stupid Drake meme where he's, one picture he's like pushing something away, the other one is pointing, and it
oh
says
yeah,
Dubai Watch Week, and then the next one says Dubai Watch Week,
oh yeah, I
like
saw
I'm
that
gonna
one.
buy one. Yeah, but like someone responded to that, and they're like, jokingly with the funny face, they're like, but everything is derivative or a remake, and I was like, but you're kind of right. Like, that has been, I mean, even the Benris we talked about, it's a
Yeah,
callback, and not that that's bad. Obviously, there's a lot of great models, which were the reason that these companies were successful in the first place, and that people can't get their hands on because they're super expensive. And for the hardcore collectors, obviously, if you are really big into one brand and you don't have mega cash to go after those, this is like an awesome alternative. Like Seiko brought back the Willards and things like that. Great. But in the same breath, like you were saying, it's nice to see some innovation. I mean, obviously not on the complication spectrum or things like that, but and improved time telling is nice. Like, I enjoy an accurate watch. Not that, again, any of us necessarily need that, because most watches today are pretty accurate by relative standards, and most people who wear a watch still use their phone, which, here and there. But it's nice to see some design innovation. It's nice to see when brands sort of take things upon themselves to, I guess, be themselves, where you're getting sort of a brand identity, and it's not, oh, Rolex made all these colors, let's make all these colors because this is a trend, right?
yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
And I always get kind of, I guess this is sort of that social media blessing and a curse thing, is I always get, no matter what I say, or no matter, and I think it's anybody, whatever you put out there, there's always going to be people who sort of nod with you and people who will clash against you no matter what, right? And I think people have told me similar to that. They're like, well, if trends aren't invented by the brands, then it's not gonna push sales. It's not gonna push people to buy things. I'm like, I guess that's kind of a valid point. But I
Yeah.
do appreciate when a brand will make sort of new things, even if it's just new for them, like it's just a new look for their line, not necessarily for everybody. Like I appreciate that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think you're starting to see it from some brands more and more because yeah, like you were saying, as far as accuracy, like how accurate can you make a watch? I mean, you're seeing maybe power reserves are coming up, which is maybe a useful improvement, I guess. But as far as modern designs and stuff, I definitely enjoy seeing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I guess that's what people really love the micros for. Like I have an appreciation for micros. I only really probably own maybe one or two. Like I have that Autodromo, and like I don't know if you count like Nevada was like a heritage brand that got like kind of revived. I don't know if that's a micro now, but like I don't have a ton of micro brand watches, but I could see the appeal in that at least somebody else is doing something different, you know?
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I guess that probably comes full circle. I mean, I can't imagine again. I don't know what the bounds are to stretch as far as watch straps go, but I have to imagine at some point you're like, what can I do differently that other people either aren't doing or nobody's done in a while, or you see some people come up with this crazy technology for things, but that's sort of above and beyond what I think even I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just kind of always just trying to think of ideas and see what I think will look cool. I mean, even if it's just stuff like colors or sizes and things like that, or new style. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess other than that, anything else you want to talk about on your very own Rich Cheese Radio episode here tonight?
No, I don't think so. We covered a lot of ground there.
No, we definitely did. I was like, after a while, I was like trying to keep track of like where we went with things, and I was like, damn, we've actually touched on a lot of things tonight. I mean, I know I speak pretty fast, but like I was like, wow.
Yeah, we did. I don't know. Did you have any other stuff you wanted to ask me
it.
or cover or anything?
Honestly, I was just obviously with Schmidt out, he's an encyclopedia and he could fill an hour by himself. It's sometimes I just sit there and I just like kind of like openly with my like jaw open and listen to him talk, because I guess like sort of like how like Jack Forrester kind of mesmerizes people. Sometimes he just starts talking about like vintage Omegas or like past references and things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm part of the show too. Like I'm just gonna, like I like don't interject. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm on this suit. But no,
what's his deal? Or like, I don't really know much, obviously, other than listening to him on the podcast. Is he like a friend of yours growing up,
so
or just somebody?
He's a friend who I met through the channels of social media, and we got together when he came to town one time, and we kind of hit it off, and we kept in touch since. And one day when he was here, we were joking around, we were drinking, and we were just like, we should start a podcast. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And like we were just talking back and forth, and eventually like, all right, let's just do it. Screw it. Like, why not? Like, we'll see what happens. Not that we're trying to like get anywhere with this. We just do this for fun. Like, this is just our weekly, like, I don't belong to a red bar or anything. He's always traveling for business. He has watch industry sort of experience under his belt and things. So like he gives me neat little tidbits about like when I add, like I'll show him new models, he'll be like, oh, so this actually came from so-and-so, or this was originally based in this brand. And like, it's just fun to like be around, I got to imagine it's like when like you're like a new player in the league and you're talking to like an old coach who's been around and like played and was really good. And you're just like, I'm just going to take it all in and soak this up. And, hopefully this rubs off on me somehow.
Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, it's cool. He's become a really good friend. And obviously from doing the podcast and things, we've gotten to know each other much more personally and everything, but it's just, it's fun to sort of witness it from both sides. Like I get a little bit of that insight from the inside as well as the outside from his prior experiences, both in sales and creative and everything. So that's pretty neat.
That's cool. And he's not in the industry now?
No, he's sort of taken like an ancillary role of sorts. But he's not necessarily like knees deep as he used to be in the boutiques in sales and things. He's not really doing that anymore. So
okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess aside from that, I guess we could take this one out. First and foremost, Nick, thanks for joining me tonight. Obviously tough, big shoes to fill, as I was just saying, but it's been great to meet you. Obviously we've been working together for a minute, but getting to know somebody in the flesh as opposed to through DM and through tagging people in photos, it's really nice to see the person behind. And I think it's going to be nice to give people an idea sort of who they've been buying the pink straps from, So
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
for joining me. And, I hope you've had fun. It's been fun for me. Obviously I'm speaking a mile a minute here, but, thank you for joining me, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. It was really fun. I've been, listening to you talk for a long time and following you. So it was good to really catch up and have a talk. And I'll also throw out there, I'm going to go to Wind Up New York, just as an attendee, I guess. So I'll see you there, and we'll meet up there. If anybody else wants to meet up, hit me up.
And they can find you at straphabit.com. And is it Straphabit one word on Instagram?
Strap_habit.
Strap_habit if you folks are looking and don't know what the heck I'm talking about. So if not, go there. Also, the pink straps are pinned to my feed. If you click on my profile, it's the first picture. So if you don't know what the heck we're talking about, go there and sort of get the lowdown, and keep an eye out for the pink straps as they come back in. Once again, Nick, thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And for all you folks out there, thank you again for listening to another episode of the Wrist G's Radio Podcast. Peace.